So just a quick introduction as to what PropStream is. If you're brand new, you've never heard of it, who is this guy, Eddie? I'm in charge of educating people on how to use PropStream. Okay. PropStream is a real estate data company. And what that means is we have the totality, 160 plus million properties across the country, pieces of real estate, whether it's residential, commercial, or vacant land. We have the data on all of it. We have the data on it, whether it's in the MLS currently, has ever been on the MLS, and certainly public records, because obviously there's properties that have never transacted. They're not on the MLS, but they're in public records, of course, right? So that's 160 plus million pieces of property across the entire country. And I'm going to share a strategy with you here because this is important. Because even if you're in this little market, whatever market you're in, and you haven't really stepped outside of it, I'm going to also share some strategies where you can, if you're brand new to this, where you can start using this outside of your market to hone your craft and get much better at using the tool. So that when you do bring it into your market, it's kind of nuanced, right? But once you bring it into your market and start digging around in your market, you're much sharper and you're better at using the tool and having the right conversations. So let's get in. Let me close this one out of the way. All right. This is the PropStream site. And maybe a little bit of a slow internet. Let's see if it's populating. Yeah, here we go. Okay, we've got some high usage right now. Okay, so the reason why I zoom out to the entire country is because that's what I want you to understand is you have access to all of the real estate data in the US of A. Okay, now I want to start with, we're obviously talking about off-market opportunities, right? And we want to start with what does that mean? Well, it means properties are not currently on the MLS, haven't recently transacted, and maybe will have some motivation. This is where the secret sauce is to PropStream. So Brady, this is really kind of where the rubber meets the road in terms of having all this data and people kind of losing their minds, like, what in the world am I supposed to do with 160 plus million pieces of property, pieces of data and properties? How do I refine that? And that's the goal for today is for me to, if you take anything away from this, is to understand who it is you're trying to serve. Like really dial it in. Getting back to my paper and pen analogy, write down those 2 or 3 situations, types of property, regional areas, challenges for that property owner potentially. Paint that picture and write those down. Because the success that I've personally had and the people that I've had the privilege of teaching is in a narrow niche. Now, a lot of people say, wait, Eddie, don't I want, 1,500 opportunities, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 leads? Not necessarily. Where you have success is when you become very proficient at identifying, addressing, communicating, and solving the problem of a very specific type of person. In this case, a property owner. Right?
That's
Because
key. The
who knows what
specific.
they're about.
Yeah, I love how you said specific type of person. We had some good questions from the people that registered in advance around like, hey Eddie, how do I find someone in pre-foreclosure? How do I find like recent divorcees or people who are late on payments? Landlords looking to sell their portfolio, maybe tired landlords. And so I'm just mentioning that because that's what you're about to dive into and all these filters and all this data. So those who asked that question, listen up because that's what we're going to get into. And then Stella, I see your question, narrative. Definitely. We're going to get into like scripts, how to approach sellers later on.
Yeah, absolutely. That's kind of where we'll go after we create this list. And yes, we're going to create this list around those avatars, right? Those types of groups of people. So let's start with this, Brady. Why don't we get somebody, just so we can start narrowing this down. Someone in the chat, just give me your zip code that you work or a city and state that you're working currently that you're familiar with, anything you've got.
Boom. Chad's fast. 83814. I don't
Beautiful,
know where
Chad.
that is.
83814, Chad.
Yeah.
I got you, brother.
Man, you guys are fast.
83814. Here we go. You type it in. Thank you to everybody else. 83814. Idaho.
I think he had that ready to copy and paste.
I think I did, yeah. Okay, so in this box is where you could search by, let me just be real clear with this. In the top left is where I typed in the zip code. In there, you can type in a zip code, a city and state, a county, multiple zip codes up to 5, just separate them by a comma, and also a specific property, meaning an address or a tax ID number. So if you were doing search on one specific piece of property, you could do that right there. So what we've done so far is we've typed in the zip code, and we're in Idaho now. And in the top right here, you're gonna see this number, 17,149 properties. That's the totality of the properties inside of that zip code. Okay. Now, there's no other filters being created. You can also draw a shape on the map. So if who gave us that code? Who gave us that zip code again?
I think it was Chad. I think.
Well, anyway, it was Chad.
Yeah,
Okay.
Chad.
I wanted to remember his name. Thank
Chad
you, Chad.
Riley.
So if Chad knew that in this particular area that he wanted to focus in on, let's just say this area here, because he knew that there was really nothing of interest over here, or these were brand new construction, whatever the case may be, you could also use the draw tool to refine this search parameter even more. Okay, so you can really dial it in. But just for our purposes today, let's just keep it a little bit more open. And we're going to stick with this. These are the results. What do we do with this? Well, at this point, we can click on any one of these properties and look at the details. And this is where all of the data that PropStream has will show up for you in terms of this particular property. Okay. This one is not actually, looks like it's a PUD. So this might not be the best example. Here's a house. So this is a property in Idaho, and it's going to tell you the characteristics of the property, of course, the value of the property in the market. You can see a downtrend here in terms of values in that area. Any mortgage and debt that's on the property, the opportunity. So this is just kind of a generic mathematical exercise where it determines, it knows an estimated value of the property based on the area and similar properties. And then it takes a percentage of that and gives you an estimated wholesale price. Okay. So good information to know when you get into conversation to see if the numbers that you guys are considering acquiring these properties for are well within reason. Okay. PropStream intelligence band is really super important, especially if you're looking for we call ugly ducklings. It's our AI actually looking at the photos, and you're able to filter by the condition of the property. So if you wanted to find something that was in disrepair or just not updated, you can filter for that specifically. Super powerful. The other AI element here that I'm going to mention is this foreclosure factor on the far right, because you can now also search by the propensity, likelihood of something going into foreclosure, not pre-foreclosure, Brady, and not foreclosure, because we know both of those are what? Those are already legal notices that go out. Everybody and their grandmother knows when those things happen, right? But the foreclosure factor is before all that. Wouldn't it be nice to know, based on the AI and the data, that there is this likelihood of this property heading towards that direction?
That's super interesting.
Motivated seller.
Yeah.
Right? And that's just one. So where the power comes in, and don't spend too much time on the property details, but this is where you're going to find all the details on this property, history, mortgages, everything, tax information, liens, etc. What is important about what we're about to do right now is something called filter stacking. And the filter stacking is what gets you from this list of 17,149 to maybe a nice meaty list of 83. And we're going to do that exercise right now. This is where the power is. I'm going to click on filters at the top center here. And immediately you're greeted with all of the filters on the left that you can use to filter this list of 17,000. And you saw the number carried over with me right here. That's the number. And you're going to see this number go down as we activate, turn on filters to reduce this list, to clearly paint the picture of who this seller is, what circumstances they're under, and why they might be more interested than others to talk to us. Make sense?
That's perfect.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, and stop me if it's not tracking or if it's too fast or whatever it might be, please, because I want this to be super valuable for all of you. I want you to all understand kind of the mental exercise that we're going through. The lead list here at the very top is kind of like your quick lists, your kind of, I won't call it cheat sheet because that's not the right term, but just kind of a quick way to filter this list down to a certain category. And you'll see a number that's inside each one of these categories, which corresponds to the number of properties that meet that criteria. So 23 of these properties of this 17,149 are bank owned, 4 are in bankruptcy, 2,641 are cash buyers. What are cash buyers? The system's identifying that the owners of these properties have a history of buying properties cash. What does that tell us? They're probably investors. Be helpful to know that, right? Especially if you've got a property in your back pocket that maybe you're trying to unload, you can find people that are interested in buying that type of property. Anyway, 3 are going through divorce, failed listings, which are expired and canceled. You see the rest. You guys are all astute. You know what these mean. 14,000 have a lot of equity in their property. So this is a quick way to refine this list immediately, but we're going to take a deeper dive. And just stick with me because I'm just going to click on some of these to paint an example photo, an example picture for all of you in your mind as to kind of who these potential people are. Because we're talking about off-market opportunities, but what does that mean? And who is it that's considering talking to us and that they're currently off market? So let's stick with residential. And we're going to go single family. Although you see, you can choose the type of property, condo, mobile home, etc. Multifamily, if that's your bag, right? That's your buy box. Okay. 3 bedrooms. Let's go with 3 bedrooms, just so it's at least a 3-bedroom. This is the kind of property, let's say I want to acquire because these are the ones that I like to buy. I like to buy single family homes with 3 bedrooms, 2 bath minimum. So again, an example. Number of units, number of stories, the year built. Is it an HOA? Does it have a pool, a garage, a basement, an admin? This is that property intelligence filtering that I showed you in that band earlier on that one property. So here's where we can say, you know what, let's see if we can find something that's somewhere between disrepair and average. Have you all followed along here? This is now down to 57 properties.
I like that condition filter. I didn't know you guys had that. I'm going to change the view here,
that's
Eddie.
really powerful.
I'll still be on here. I'm going to change the view because we got someone asking if we can make it bigger. We'll maximize this. And then we have one good question. Somebody's asking, can you search for mobile home parks?
Yes, you can. And I won't, I won't get into, where those here, where is it? I'll show you here, right here. Fabricated. All right. So that's available to you here as well as it is. I believe there's one here for a community as well. But look, even down to timeshares, high-rise apartments, fraternity and sorority houses, co-ops, it's all in here. So let's just keep going. Are you good for me to keep going?
Yeah. Keep cruising, man. I'll pause you if we get a good question. So, Mark Sapola has a good question. He says, what does disrepair actually mean? Like, what's the criteria for that?
So it's what most people, obviously it's not a finite number, right? But obviously disrepair, and we'll look at some of these results here in a moment because we use that filter. So we think we did disrepair to average. Disrepair means the AI, artificial intelligence, is able to look at the photos like you and I would look at the photo and see that the floor is sinking in, or that the paint is chipping, or that the cabinet doors are falling off, or that the siding is missing shingles on the outside. That's what it's doing. So what we would consider as a human something in disrepair is what the AI is able to do. So it's a great way to filter this down if you were interested in getting into ugly ducklings because you wanted to work on the upside of that, right? You knew that was a solid little house, but it was just ugly. I can get it for a better price. I can fix it for 20 or 25,000, whatever the number is, and I know I can then hold on to it, command a higher rent, et cetera, et cetera. Awesome. This is some of the searching that you will be doing. Okay. I'm going to back off of this one a little bit, only because, in this zip code, we don't have so many properties. I don't want this to become a very small list. So I'll just leave it open-ended for now. Foreclosure factor. This might be an interesting one. Remember, what we're doing with the filtering exercise is we're compressing someone's urgency to maybe sell to us and at minimum have a conversation, right? Because they're under some kind of pressure. So would we activate the foreclosure factor? Yeah. Let's say that they're in medium low to to very high. We haven't made this list a little bit small, but it's okay. You guys get it. You'll stick with me. That's fine. And it's only a result of the fact that, this zip code only had 17,000 properties in it, so it wasn't a huge community, which is perfectly fine. Again, you can replicate this in a county or a city and state, whatever it is, you can make it bigger. And you don't have to get this refined. Clearly, we want this to be off market. We don't want it to be on the MLS, right? So we're going to have off market so that we can skip the MLS section. This is the traditional pre-foreclosure and bank owned. So you could select this. You could select properties that are in pre-foreclosure or already bound. Owner information, you could go, so I like doing this one a lot. I won't do it right now because I don't want our list to get too small. It's already at 10. But think about this. Ordinarily, if this was a larger list, I would love to be able to select owner occupied, no. Why would I do that? And vacant, yes. Owner occupied, no, because the owner doesn't live in it, maybe less emotionally attached to the property. Again, another factor that pushes you towards an easier in for a conversation. And vacant, yes, because let's say it's not even generating any money. It's just sitting there and costing us money, honey, as if you were talking to your wife, right? Or vice versa, you're talking to your husband.
Yeah.
This is costing us money. We got to get rid of this pig. So again, this is the mental exercise that I want this filtering process to spark in all of you. Years of ownership. I might select this one because they've owned it for a long time. What is that also going to tell me? Probably have a lot of equity in it if they've owned it a long time, right? So they're more flexible to work with us. Maybe on the market, the house is worth 300,000, but they want to sell it quickly to an investor and they'll sell it for 240. Because they have enough equity in it, they could do that. Another very important indicator. Owner type, absentee owner location. You can even choose to pick people that don't even live in the country or in the county, sorry, or in the state. Last sale price, tax exempt status, lien to bankruptcies. This is not mortgage liens. This is like, I'll show you, HOA liens, child support liens, mechanics liens. These are all additional signals of distress, urgency, motivation. Is this all making sense? Right?
Yeah, I love how
So
nuanced
stacking
and
all,
specific these are. I can imagine there's some people on this call who are like, I know those people well, or I've been in a career that interfaces with those people. I'm the one to reach out to them. That's perfect.
1,000%. And all of this is not just create. I love how you said that. All this, Brady, is not just creating more of an urgency on the person on the other line, but it's telling you exactly what they're going through, and your conversation gets a lot more sharp, as opposed to, hi, my name is Eddie. I'm an investor in the area. Would you like to sell your house? Very generic, falls flat, but if you take an approach, and we'll touch on some of those approaches here in a moment, take an approach that is more nuanced and specific to their situation is where you'll make the connection to earn the trust, to have those conversations that lead to a deal.
That's perfect.
This is all the refining, right? Another huge one is divorce. I know people in the industry, and I've had the pleasure of training them, that are absolute animals in the divorce space. They've got the right team of attorneys, they've got house stagers, they've got cleanup crews, they've got handymen, they've got all these people are surrounding them that are dialed into helping somebody that's going through the steps and the difficulties involved around a divorce. They're masterful at it. They fine-tuned it. So this is why I say things like, don't worry about trying to get thousands and thousands of leads. Become a specialist, because then you become known for that. And what ends up happening is when those opportunities show up, the phone actually starts ringing, as opposed to you having this outbound effort. There's this inbound effect that happens because you're known for solving that type of problem.
I love
Tax
that.
delinquency.
I would love,
Yeah,
as you're
it's
scrolling
really,
through here,
really
Eddie, I would love to hear from people in the chat. It might be helpful for Eddie. Let me know, like, I know everyone has their buy box, right? But if there's a specific type of person or situation or a story that you're really savvy with, I'd love to hear that in the chat. And if not, what's a demographic or a situation you feel like you could maybe become really great at connecting with? Jake Schultz says probate. Yeah, I'd love to hear some. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, I love that. And it could be not because you haven't been in real estate for a long time. It could be because of your previous career. Like, do you have a specialty, or did you work with a certain type of person in a certain industry where you have that background to be able to speak intelligently about their situation. So anyway, I was scrolling through here. We have some more info we can choose, the type of mortgage they have, monthly payments, interest rate. I mean, it goes on and on. Cash buyers, free and clear, people that own it free and clear. But let's just get down to a list. This is the list of 10. And there they are. These are the ones that fit the criteria that we just ran the exercise through. And again, depending on what you search, your results are going to be different. But at the end of the day, you're going to have your 10 or your 20 or your 40 that reflect that situation based on the filters that you stacked. Okay. So what are we going to do now? We're going to create this and we're going to save these 10 to a list. Now, of course, I can uncheck some of these. I can go through each one like, oh no, I don't really want that one, whatever it is, because you're going in to click the details and you're going to spend a little time, right? Be thoughtful about, does this make sense? Does it not make sense? But let's just say we love these 10. We're going to save these 10. So we're going to just call it Idaho RentRedi. I'm going to create this new list. And right here is a button where you can immediately skip trace these properties. And we'll go into that in a moment, but we may not go into this actually in the moment but I want to mention it now. So just as a kind of a product feature of PropStream. So what we've done inside of PropStream is we've had access to all the data. We've refined that to create an actionable list of people we understand what their circumstances are very clearly. And now what we're doing is we're saving them to a marketing list. In this marketing list, you're going to save these 10 and you can take actions on these. What does that mean? You can skip trace them, which I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with. That's the ability inside of PropStream to pull phone numbers and email addresses. Why do we want that? Because inside of PropStream, once we have that, you can then execute on the marketing pieces that are also inside of PropStream, which are sending out postcards, which of course you don't need to skip trace, right? To send out a postcard because all you need is the address, but send out postcards, send out emails, and obviously have the numbers to start calling. And speaking of calling, we just, like in this past week, finally integrated the dialer feature inside of PropStream. So you don't even have to leave the platform anymore. You're going to retrieve all these 10 phone numbers and email addresses. And in the platform, you can click and start dialing and having conversations with these people now.
That's amazing. I love that, man. There's a couple good questions here.
Yeah, please. Because I'm
Yeah.
not looking at the questions right away. So please feed them to me.
Yeah, sure. Kennedy says, does the platform reference public records to get the demographics information shown here?
Yes, the answer is correct. I'll cancel out of this. There's all kinds of statistics throughout the platform. Demographics, this is the statistics specifically for zip code, this zip code. It's not generic, okay? So yes, throughout the platform, you have access to demographics. Is it higher renters than owners? Is it, is there more foreclosures in this area than in this area? You'll see all of that throughout the platform in many different ways.
So super useful for trying to decide if you want to go into a new market or a new area too, besides just properties.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And you can also launch the heat map as well. There's a heat map right here. You can see it on the screen right here.
Oh, that's cool.
So I can select price growth, MLS data, values, so you can see what's moving and what's not. Oh, that's also cool. Very helpful to layer in a heat map.
Jake has a good question.
Am I buying in a place that's trending up?
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. There's a slight delay, so I'm trying to catch you. Jake said, what would you say are the best filters for motivation to pull consistently? My experience has been probate, but curious what others say.
Listen, there is no right or wrong. They all work. I love this question. I really do. I love this question because a lot of times we get like, okay, what filter should I be clicking on? Like, which ones are the best ones, right? And there's no right or wrong. It's whatever best for you in your understanding, in your background, because you're going to be able to leverage those opportunities better than the person who's not astute at that particular nuance. Okay, so all of those work. Probate, you saw a lot of the filters in there. The divorce, the AI, the pre foreclosure, right? The PropStream intelligence that's in there. They all work. They all trigger a need in somebody to have to potentially sell.
Thomas says, if you call from PropStream, will they see your number? I've heard you use Google Call.
No, what you'll get is when you set it up, and that's a great question. Thanks, Thomas. What you'll have is the opportunity to select 3 numbers, and it will alternate those 3 numbers. They're not your numbers. So it'll alternate and call from those numbers. And so, of course, we're building in safe calling features, right? So that we're not seeing a spam, you're not seeing a spam, and your call gets connected. So yeah, you're not using your own personal number.
That's
Good
perfect.
question.
Cool, man. I think that's all the questions we have right now. Yeah, feel free to
Okay,
keep
cool.
cruising, man.
Let's keep going. Yeah. So far, so good.
Awesome. Yeah.
Excellent. So let's go through this journey real quick because I want to get to kind of, once we're there, what are we having? What kind of conversations are we having? So anyway, let's just I don't think I saved it, so let's just call it RentRedi again.
While you're doing that, Eddie, there were 2 questions. Mark said this particular house at 971 in the middle of the list. He said, is it off market or on market? And that I think he might be asking, it's kind of related to someone earlier was asking, when you first started screen sharing, there was a property at like 600K and it said like $1 million in equity. And they were wondering why the list price would have been that.
I did not see that. That would have been odd too. I wish we would have caught that in the moment.
I figured it might have been an
I
oddball.
didn't see that. Yeah, it could have been just an oddball situation. Maybe it was that first one that I clicked on that didn't have a property on it. That was
Oh, it
that,
could be.
yeah, it was a piece of developed land. I think that's what it was. That's obviously a really unique one-off situation. So it wasn't your typical home. So we saved these list of 10, and where did they go? They went into my properties and they went into a marketing list because that's exactly how we saved them. And we saved them as RentRedi, and they're right here. And you can see it already returned all my results because it's a smaller list anyway. So it was very fast, right? So I already have emails and phone numbers. Let's click on one. Oops. And here it is. So we already have the information for this owner, Robert, who is the owner, and we have their phone numbers and their landline numbers. This one happens to be all on do not call list. We let you know what's on the do not call list. It's entirely up to you to manage your business and do what you need to do when it comes to using or not using these numbers, and they're clearly labeled accordingly, okay? And then on the far right, you'll also see the emails that we pulled. The numbers, the phone numbers and the emails are in order of best score, so higher likelihood of connection, okay? So that's where that is. Now, what do we do with this skip trace information now? Well, we can, and again, there's lots of features in here. It's not meant to be a full demo of PropStream, of course, but I want you to start thinking about the possibilities, what the workflow would look like once you've created your list, thought about who you're trying to reach, use the tools to create the list, and then what are you going to do? You're going to take action. You're going to start reaching out. And so inside of new campaigns, we can launch the postcard campaign, which I'll show you here in a moment what that looks like. You can also skip trace, which is what we already did. So we kind of did that when we created the list, so you don't have to do it again. But if you hadn't done it and only saved the list, this is the button you would click on to then launch the skip tracing feature. But we've done that and we have it already. And we also have automate lists. This lead automator is a great tool too, because back in the day, it used to be I created this list of 10 and then it's a static list. It's created once and then that's it. But what if a new property tomorrow, the next day, next month met this criteria that I just worked so hard to go through? I would love to know that there's a new opportunity, right? So this lead automator is quote unquote what I like to call babysitting your list. So when you do log back in next week, next month, next year, this may be not 10, it might be 11 because a new one or 2 or 3 dropped in. Make sense? The reverse happens too. So it's a great way to know that anytime you log back in and you look at your list, you're looking at the most recent relevant data for what's available to you.
I love that.
Yeah, I love that too. And I pause at certain things, Brady, because I, as a user, as a practitioner, I value. So like that, I pause on because I value that, right? Because I don't have to research.
Yeah, exactly.
Research again.
Yeah. Research,
Okay,
refresh every time. Yeah, I love that.
correct. Refresh exactly every time. It's the system's doing it for me. It's fantastic. So what would we be doing now? We're gonna launch a campaign, which is after we've created this list. And this is what campaigns look like. Now, again, we've identified, created the list, added the list, skip traced the list, so we have all the contact information we need. Now, if I go back, and I'm sorry, I probably should have shown you this. This is a different list, but regardless, if I were to click on the number, you see that? You see that pop up?
Yes, I see it. Yep.
Great. It says ready to call.
Uh-huh.
This is that feature I wanted you to see. So the moment you skip trace a list, the moment you want to click on one of those phone numbers, you're immediately calling this gentleman, Robert Barrett. And you can call now.
Nice.
And you're going to call through the system. And it's going to use one of those 3 numbers that I mentioned to you before. So immediately you're talking to Mr. Barrett and engaging him in a conversation. What are we saying to Mr. Barrett? We're getting there. We're almost there, I promise. Because I know that's that verbal judo, that mastering of how to have conversations is so incredibly important. But let me finish off by showing you the campaigns. You can call Mr. Barrett and or launch a campaign that on the list that he's in, the list we just created. Okay. This is an example. Switch gears with me for a moment. This is called Monday Seniors. This is one that I created as a test case to show. This is a different type of person. This is a scenario where in South Florida, because this is where this is, in South Florida, we're thinking about an older couple who live in a very large home that need to downsize. They don't have the family anymore. They live in a 2-story. They probably want that little condo on the water. That's probably what's next. This is the avatar. This is the target audience. Okay. This is the person that we need to talk to in this particular case. So what are the assets inside this marketing campaign that you now have access to? It all revolves around a landing page. Every single one of those list of 10 that we created today, every single one of those campaigns, that we created today gets its own campaign. Meaning you have its own little mini website, capture page, landing page, call it what you want. You build it out. So stick with me with the senior concept, right? Downsizing seniors. This is a landing page that I created as an example. You could go in, you change out your logo, whatever you want to say in the corner. You use contextual imagery. This is not where we get into 201 and 301, Brady. This is like beyond just give me a list, let me call and talk to people.
Yeah.
This is now being very nuanced and specific. Why do we create that list of 10 in the first place? Because we want to know exactly who we're talking to and what they're going through. So you can pen and create a landing page that is effective, as well as our emails, which I'm about to show you, and the postcards, which I'm about to show you.
Yeah.
But everything comes back to this landing page. So you can change the imagery, and you can see clearly, lovely older couple, they're packing their boxes, they have a staircase in the back, they're probably looking to downsize. I'm creating a story around these people and that list. Have you thought about downsizing? Get all your questions answered about the real estate market, what it means for you, and the options you have to find your next perfect home. Contact us below and get access to our guide. Another baller strategy, have a guide. Use AI, use ChatGPT, spin up a really nice, helpful, not garbage, helpful guide of some sort or some value add that you can give without going right for the ask and right for the throat. Provide value. Again, these are the nuanced marketing, sales tactics. And now you see another lovely couple sitting on the couch looking at the laptop, likely looking for their next home. You see how I'm telling a story here. There's an arc. And now they're looking at these 4 images on the right of a beautiful little condo on the water. Oh yeah, the person receiving it will be like, yeah, honey, this is us. This is exactly what we need to do. Let's get a hold of that guide. And let's also reach out. And I'm going to fill out my contact information. And you are going to get that contact, Brady. That email is going to come back to you and tell you that these people are interested. Mr. Barrett or Mr. and Mrs. Barrett are interested in talking to you. Incredibly powerful. I would use this unique URL, my Facebook, text it to somebody that you maybe just had a conversation about that specific niche. Use it. It's a live website.
Yeah, it's also a good spot to put a video, like for the lonely few who are willing to like put their face on a camera. I can imagine like a 1-minute selfie shot video on your iPhone of like, hey, my name is Brady. If you're on this page, you probably got one of my postcards, or we probably talked recently. Here's what I do. Here's how I might be able to help you out. just a real quick explainer video, nothing complicated.
100%. So I'll finish up with this on this, and then we can get into the kind of the conversation. So bundled with that landing page, how are you going to use that landing page? Like I said, you could send it out uniquely, individually, but you could also include it in your email. So this is the email composer. We're all familiar with, crafting the words, changing the fonts, the colors. You would craft this story, this email, and they would click on the button when they receive the email. Where do you think it's going to land? Back to this landing page, right? So that you can capture, it's all encompassing marketing campaign. Likewise, you can send out a postcard. They're going to get this postcard. You're going to craft it, the colors, the logos, the imagery, right? Telling the story. So it all kind of jives with the landing page as well, right? Similar imagery, etc. If you have a phone, you're not using your phone right now for this call, scan that QR code. Where do you think it's going to take you? I'll give you a second to scan it. And I'll give you 3 guesses. It's going to go right here. It's going to land right here. So what have I created for myself? A list of people that are interested in talking to me, or that are more likely interested in talking to me. And I have a marketing campaign that's ready to launch, including me picking up the phone inside of PropStream using the dialer to have a conversation right away. That's the complete package. And all of these marketing assets you're creating are contextual to their situation. That's what makes it powerful.
That's awesome.
Not this huge splatter shot that you're going to take. Generic. Doesn't work.
Yeah, that's really good, man. Cool. Well, yeah.
Let's pause here. I basically went through the platform and the entire kind of workflow. Let's pause here for questions, and then we can certainly go into kind of how the conversations go and what do we expect.
Yeah, a couple technical questions before we move on. Somebody's asking, Jim said, what is the caller ID on those call out numbers?
It's the number. Great question, Jim. It's one of the 3 numbers that you're going to be selecting. So when you set up your dialer inside of PropStream, you're going to be able to select the numbers. So obviously you're going to start with you're really selecting the area code because you want it to be a local number, which is very important, right?
Super.
So you select your area code, and then it's going to populate those 3 numbers. Yeah, it's super important, right? We don't want something that no one knows what that is because they don't answer the phone. So we've got to be mindful of that. So you get to choose your area code, and then 3 phone numbers pop up. You can choose them. You can kind of refresh it, choose different numbers, whatever it is. Once you have your 3, those are the 3 that are going to be used. And that's what the person on the other end is going to see, one of those 3 as it's rotating through those numbers as you're making your calls.
Okay, perfect. And Jim saying is an unknown caller. I would imagine say unknown caller is the phone number.
Yeah, it's going to be the phone number. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which you got a local area code. That covers most of it. We'll do one more and then we'll switch over to conversations.
Yeah, let's do it.
Carlos says most of the numbers are do not call. Our email addresses captured.
Our email addresses, yeah, they were in there. So you do get the phone numbers as well as the email addresses as well. And
Okay,
that's
cool.
those are the email addresses that the system PropStream is going to use. The system's going to use to send out those emails that I showed you.
Perfect.
So when you craft the email and you send it out, it's going to use those email addresses to obviously send that email to that person.
Perfect. Cool. All right. Yeah, let's dive into
Excellent.
talking to sellers.
So talking to sellers, this is the biggest lift. This, Brady, is really where the rubber meets the road. I mean, you can do all this work and craft all this beautiful stuff and create your list in your jammies in the middle of the night, get all hyped up, but if you don't press go, nothing is going to happen.
Yeah.
So you must start calling. If I may for a moment, one strategy I kind of alluded to earlier is if you're starting from zero and you're uncomfortable, most of us are. I am absolutely amazed that I ended up being on camera or talking to people. And I talk on stages now. There's no way I would have even fathomed that 15, 20, 30 years ago. No way. So what I'm saying to you and sharing that with you is that you just have to practice. And the way you would practice in this particular domain, in this particular exercise, would be maybe you have a partner in a different community that you're not necessarily serving. Maybe you're part of a networking group and you meet some really good people and you collect a bunch of business cards, and this guy's from California and this gal's in New York, or whatever it is. You don't really work those, but it'd be great to maybe build relationships with them. I would call them and say, it was great meeting you. I'd love to start to kind of, we're working some leads in your area. Would you be interested in doing a deal with me or partnering up on something, whatever that ends up looking like for you, totally up to you, right? And then start your practice in those markets,
Hmm.
so that when you then are very proficient or more proficient and you're more comfortable, you can then pick up the phone in your market to do your deals. Does that make sense?
Hmm. I love that. Yeah, that's great.
So, okay, I wanted to just kind of kick off with that. So, and I wanted to bring up my questions here because I wanted to make sure I didn't, kind of change the order, et cetera. I wanted to really kind of go by, and this is out of the notes that I've always kept over my career, to just kind of frame out three likely scenarios and questions you're going to get when you pick up the phone. Okay. I'm not really looking to sell, but I might consider it. Now, you're going to get, before that, you're going to get hangups. That's just the way it's going to work. People are going to hang up with you. They're going to swear at you. And that's it. You just need to be able to develop that threshold, that tolerance for those things, right? And it just gets better. It gets easier. But the next one's going to be, they'll have a conversation with you. They're listening to you, but they're not quite ready yet. This is where it's really important, Brady, is to not always go for the sale. Like, you want to be able to very clearly and eloquently, but very clearly and quickly say what you are there to talk about, right? You don't want to dance around. You don't want to hum and haw. You want to be able to get into it. So in this particular instance, I would say something like, hi, my name is Eddie. I'm a local landlord. So I'm identifying myself. So I'm going to break this up. Hi, my name is Eddie. So this is me, really. I'm a local landlord. Why do we use those words? Because you're local. You want them to understand that you're not somebody that's way, way out there or some stranger in nowhere's land. I'm local. Oh, because people will pause and be like, okay, he's my neighbor to a certain extent, right? I'm a local landlord, and I was interested in finding out if you would ever consider selling your home. That's it. This is what I mean by opening it up quickly and getting right to the point. Then at that point, there's going to be questions like no, or responses like, no, I'm not really interested. They're considering it, but they're kind of still in the conversation with you. This is where you want to be able to say, I just wanted to reach out to see if that's something you were interested in. It's not high pressure. It's not high sales state. None of this trying to, and this is, I'm sharing with you, Brady, and everyone on this call, what has worked for me, right? Because you're going to hear a lot of different things. And some of them might work for different personalities, different styles, different markets, et cetera, et cetera. But what's worked for me in acquiring my properties is this. I just wanted to get in touch with you because I know it might be something, I thought it might be something you'd be interested in. I'm just looking to increase my portfolio. Be very upfront, be very normal. Don't try to verbal judo yourself into convincing anybody of anything. Does
I
that make
love
sense?
that. Yeah, absolutely. And man, Eddie, I've talked with a lot of investors over the years. I know there's a lot of different approaches to this. And I would say I'm not an investor myself, but that's what I've seen work the most. It's clear, it's simple, it's to the point, and it's not high pressure right off the bat. Yeah.
The reason why you've heard that, Brady, is because that's what works. And
Yeah.
a lot of us who have done this for a while and have done it successfully, I'm not going to speak for everyone, but I can speak for a lot of people, especially those that I've had the privilege of speaking to on this particular topic, is they come from a place of giving. Like, hey, this has worked for me.
Mhm.
You can probably try it. You should probably try it. Now, you, Brady, or Chakra, or Doug, or Jim, or Kenneth out there, they may handle it differently. They may have a different vibe. Um, find how it is that you communicate. But if you can bring this into a more organic, natural conversation, tie them in with, I'm a local person. I'm just like you. I'm just kind of interested. No pressure. And if the
Yeah.
answer is no, let it be no. Go on to the next, because you will find your yeses. That's the other big takeaway here. You
Yeah.
will have, on my board when I was starting in real estate, just real quick, because it just made me think of this. On my whiteboard, when I was selling homes as a real estate agent, I within about 6 months to 9 months, I developed a number and it sat in the corner. And that whiteboard, that number was never erased on that whiteboard for many, many years. The number was 72. That's how many conversations Eddie needed to have to close one transaction. And when Eddie was a young dad, raising two little girls and a wife at home and a mortgage and all these things, I leaned on that number so heavy because I knew if I went to 144 conversations, it was two deals.
Hmm.
You see where I'm going with this?
Yeah.
And so you gotta, it's okay to say it didn't work out. I'm going on to the next.
Yeah. Not get so emotionally tied up and invested in one of those conversations. Yeah. It's a numbers game.
I've thought about selling, but I don't know where to start. This is the other one too. My wife and I have been thinking about it, don't know where to start. This is the other big one we get. And this is more educational driven. This is where I then shift into, well, here's what's happening in the market. This is what we're looking at right now. We're seeing these types of properties, we're seeing these types of opportunities. I'm looking at, your neighboring properties, and I'm interested in that area. And again, soft. So that's another really kind of big. Does anybody have any questions on that first one or this one too? Let's see if there's anything popping
Yeah,
up there.
let
Do you
us
see
know in
that,
the
Brady?
chat if you guys have any questions, objections, or you guys have faced or things you've run into on phone calls. None related to the script yet. Paula had a quick question. Does PropStream handle property statuses, notes, etc., like a CRM?
Yes, slightly, especially when it comes to making your calls. So when you get off the call, you'll have an opportunity to write the notes on that interaction and any kind of next steps that you want to take.
Cool.
Also, inside each one of those properties that you save to a list, there's also a notes section. So if you wanted to type in something specific about that property that you noticed, you have that opportunity as well.
Nice.
Okay. So anyway, getting back to this second one, I've thought about selling, but I don't know where to start. The seller has some mental motivation to move forward, but has no real plan. They're either overwhelmed by not knowing where to start, or they're usually overwhelmed by not knowing where to start and kind of, what do I do? And a lot of those times they're people that aren't even interested in engaging a real estate agent. Like I think people would be surprised how many properties are transacted quietly. I think a lot of people think that the minute someone thinks about selling, they're going to go with an agent. It's not the case. So this is why it's so important to become really good at your talking points and your conversations and your specific lists that you're creating, so that you can beat those people to the punch, because you're already getting to people that you understand are more likely to want to sell a property.
That's awesome. Yeah, totally makes sense.
So I wrote, this is something I had taken from my notes in terms of a response for that one, in terms of people
Yeah.
that are kind of wavering. This is something I would say that's actually really common. Most owners I talk to feel the same way. Would it help if I just explained how I typically look at a property and what options you'd have?
Hmm.
What options you'd have. Always giving them options, not this is it, take it or leave it. These are the options. Let's see if one of these works for you. Does that work for you? All right. And then if they say yes, then you can talk about value, timing. Leave these things up to them. Let them decide what's the pace of the conversation, but also the pace of potentially acquiring their property.
Yeah. I love
Okay.
that. It's not an I statement. It's not a here's what I'm looking to do. It's just here are your options. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, these are all tried and true. I mean, I love that you pick up on that, Brady, because these are all tried and true. There's a reason why those strategies and tactics work,
Mhm.
is because that's what resonates with the human being.
Yeah.
Nobody likes to feel like they're getting pushed on or directed in a certain way, but I'd like to be presented with options where I can choose, and that's what you're framing in this situation,
Yeah.
right? And then the third one we get a lot is because I'm being mindful of the time here too, is people that just say, okay, just make me an offer, right? You'll get that all the time,
Yeah.
right? You'll just make me so that they say it with kind of a little bit bravado, like, my house is worth $3 million. Well, it's only worth 450. It's just looked at the comps
Yeah.
on PropStream. So I know it's not worth 3 million, but you'll get that right? And sometimes it feels like it's the way I describe it, it feels like it's a trap, right? They just want to kind of rush you through it, and the seller's just testing you. Um, and so yeah, I'd love to that absolutely. I'd love to potentially make you an offer, but I need to know more, right? And this is where you now are going to ask more questions. Like, I can definitely do that, but I don't want to waste your time or mine, right? Again, you're making it about them too. Can I ask you a couple quick questions? What made you think of selling? Getting that motivation, although you have some motivation because that's the list you created, getting motivation out of them is incredibly important. Because not only in terms of how you may craft your offer, but also maybe this isn't the right time. Maybe a set of circumstances have to happen in their life in order for you to then transact. So doesn't mean that when you're making these calls that you're going to score the home run. It does happen. You meet the next day, you make an offer, it works out, everyone's high-fiving, and you close the deal. It does happen. But more often than not, these are relationships that need to be nurtured, which is also great about having the PropStream platform, is because you can drop a postcard, 3 weeks later, drop an email, drop another postcard, right? And then maybe at that point, you're making them aware of what's going on in the market, depending on how the conversation went, right? You can make them aware of what's going on in the market. I was thinking about you. We just saw this property down the street that looks just like yours, sell for X amount of dollars. Now you're just being helpful. And obviously that goes a long way
Yeah.
to add to your credibility.
I love that, man. That's
Is that
perfect.
helpful for everyone?
Yeah, let us know if that's helpful. Let us know if you got a couple nuggets from that from those scripts there. We got some questions coming in. You want to pivot to questions, Eddie?
Please.
Cool. Let's do it.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Um,
I'll be ready.
we've got some we how much time do you have, Eddie? I want to be respectful of your
I'll
time
give you
too.
guys as much time as you guys need.
Okay, we'll go for three
I
more
want this to be
hours here.
helpful for you. Like, I want you out to take action after today.
Yeah,
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 this is what I love to doing. So anything you can glean off of what I've done successfully, please
cool.
ask.
Awesome. I appreciate you. We got live questions. We got some pre-seeded ones. Let me take a glance at my pre-seeded questions, ones that people ask in advance, to see what we can answer here, and we'll take some live ones. So everybody, keep piping through your questions. This is good. Let's see. Okay, here's a good one, Eddie. Does your deal finding strategy change in competitive or dense urban markets, and if so, how?
Let me actually, I'll stop this screen sharing. If that's
Oh yeah.
okay.
Yep.
Okay, cool. I'm sorry. Ask the question again.
Yeah. How does your strategy change in competitive or more dense urban markets?
How does the strategy change? It really doesn't. Um, and the reason why, and this isn't hype talk, it's just I don't really focus on my competition. I mean, I really don't, because I may be better, and I'm likely better because I'm practiced, but also because no one's really gonna outwork me. But this is me, right? This
Yeah.
is my way of thinking. I wouldn't be afraid of going into a busy market, because the other thing is, let's just pretend you're not as experienced. That's perfectly fine. What you will find is that people, the way you talk to people, some will key in with you more than Brady or with Eddie. They'll
Mm,
key in with you, Kennedy. Or
yeah.
they just like the way Jason grew up in the same town, or he remembers shopping at Jason's dad's grocery store when they were growing up. Random things like that happen all the time. Your cadence of speaking, the way you present, all of that is going to be a huge differentiator. One of the things that I've seen, and this is kind of a little bit off topic, but just kind of cements this thought, and maybe it connects with all of you, is if you guys are YouTube watchers, and there's channels that are on the same real estate topics, investment, etc., right? A lot of gurus out there, a lot of good stuff, some shady stuff, but a lot of good stuff. Undoubtedly, you connect, and YouTube is feeding you the content of those guys and gals that you like watching, because that's who you connect with. So I
Yeah.
would not worry too much to your question about, the competition or how crowded it may or may not be.
I think that's good.
Get your
I like
reps.
that answer. Yeah, yeah, get your reps in. Let's see. Look at these questions. Um, Man, a lot of the questions that we're asking in advance, you've already answered. Like, how do you approach people, ethically, create a win-win scenario? There's a couple of questions, Eddie, on financing. Jeff says one. A few people have asked in different ways. If you're looking to buy off market, what are creative ways besides cash to finance properties, especially if you want to buy 5 or more properties?
5 or more properties over the long term, 5 or more properties at one time. What are you thinking there?
Yeah, let us know,
Okay, let's
Jeff.
just stick with that one. So if you're looking to buy off
Yeah.
market, what are creative, I see in the question right now, what are creative ways besides cash to finance these purchases? Well, one of the ways is obviously to do a joint venture with somebody, right? Is to bring in a partner. That's actually the way I started, which is why I say it, because I was the one that was finding the deals and I had a partner that had the resources to do it. And you would be surprised how many people are out there that are looking to inject just cash and be pretty hands off. Obviously, they're going to vet you and make sure you're not a crazy person. That will happen. But that is one of the ways I would consider partnering with somebody to bring that cash in. Now, also, I would engage several different lenders, local lenders, because there's always, and I'm not privy to all of them at all the times, but my second tip would be to engage local lenders that are specifically focused on investor financing, because they always have a lot of options that nobody even thought about. They have access to them and they have connections as well. So those are, you'd be surprised. Money is, over my career, money's not been the problem. And I don't say that from a point of, oh, I'll just write a big check. That's not what I'm talking about. Finding the money for the right deal that makes sense, you will find people that will throw money at that because it makes sense. So make sure you have a good deal first.
That's good. I'll do a couple more of the preceded ones real quick, and then we'll take some of these live questions. Thanks for piping these in, guys.
Yeah.
Um, how do you know which homeowner conversations are worth continuing versus walking away before they become a time sink? Ooh.
Great question. Great question. And I kind of alluded to it earlier, but you do need to become very good about understanding that. So if you are eagle-eyed about understanding where there is opportunity here, there is a relationship to nurture, it's worth your time. If you really feel, listen, because you can't lean on, you can, but it's not a good path. You can't lean on, I have to make a sale, I have to make a sale, I have to force this deal to happen. It's not the way to do business. And it's just, you're not going to be happy or successful in that. The better choice in that situation is to really be very clear, have very clear lens as to how you're seeing that potential deal. And if it's not going to go anywhere, be honest with yourself. Let it go on to the next. Because back to my 72 up on the board, the more of these conversations you have, you will talk to the people that are like, yeah, you got time tomorrow to stop by? I'd be cool if you just looked at the house. You'll get to those conversations faster, and those are the ones you want. So
Yeah,
just be
interesting.
mindful of that. Yeah,
Yeah,
be
it
very
goes
mindful
back
of
to
that.
it being a reps game. It's a numbers game instead of stewing on the ones
100%.
that just aren't super motivated. That's a great answer.
Do we know that people are ready to sell their house today? Do we know that there's thousands of people out there across the country
Yeah,
looking to sell their house today that are having conversations over a cup of coffee? Of
yeah,
course. So let's get to them. Let's
yeah,
not waffle over here with the impossible maybes.
yeah. Let's see. Oh, here's a good one. Do you respond to every seller lead, even if it's outside your buy box? If not, how do you handle or repurpose those leads?
So in the beginning, I did not. In the beginning, I ignored them. But as I got better and I had built, and this is why one of the benefits of having a strong network that I kind of mentioned earlier, is because I know that Brady likes those kinds of properties, or I know that Jason likes those kinds of properties, or Dan. So that's where I would start to build my pipeline of uh, uh, investor partners where and that's also goodwill because they once will also know what you're into, and hopefully you'll have that reciprocal relationship. So yeah, similar to kind of understanding and not spending time on people that are not really interested and going to go anywhere. Similar with they don't fit in my buy box. I'd rather maybe get a piece or build the goodwill with a potential partner in the future that will think of me, vice versa, when a deal fits me more than it fits them.
Yeah, that's great. At least a JV or referral. Yeah.
There's
Um,
always a little money in there.
yeah. So let's see. Jason says, with regards, let me put this on the screen. With regards to the do not call in Texas, not being able to call or text, is it just email or post Is just email or postage worth the cost? I can look up information on the CD for free. What are the benefits?
The reason why it is good to still do that, and that's a great question too, is because the nature of how you're going to use PropStream. You see, I got down to a list of 10, and obviously that was a little tighter. But if you're getting to a manageable list of 40, 50, 60, under 100, the economics of sending out a postcard are it's nothing. It's nothing. I think it's 45 cents a postcard through
Yeah.
PropStream. That's it. So that's the whole benefit of using PropStream in the way that I showed you, is because you know how to pen, and what I mean by pen is compose, write the content on that postcard or in that email that's very specific to them, which lands better. It's contextual to that person, so that's more effective. So, I don't see a problem with the economics there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I mean, before my days with the RentRedi, I came from like off market was my entire world. So I've talked with a lot of investors over the years doing like flipping, wholesaling, and like direct mail is just one of those things that's just consistently performed for years. It's consistently one of the top most predictable marketing channels. It just works, especially if you stand out and like you have an interesting postcard. You know, people hold on to those, they put them in their junk drawer, and they keep them for a couple of years. And then when they're ready to sell, they're like, oh, that was the guy. I need to give him a call. It's yeah,
Yeah,
it's good.
and maybe you make that QR code, and above the QR code you say, you know, the Brownstone neighborhood or whatever neighborhood you're in, right? Or Oakland Street. This is about Oakland Street. And then you put the little QR code, Oakland Street, that's my street. What
Yeah.
is he talking about? They scan, they look at the QR code, and now your landing page comes up, and it gives them more context as to what you're about, and starts a conversation.
Yeah, that's great. There are a couple more. One, somebody was asking if you could show, I think you showed the email earlier in case they can't call them.
In case they can't call them, you want me to show what the email looks like? I'm sorry?
I think you did. Did you have, correct me if I'm wrong, Eddie, did you have an email pulled up earlier that was drafted
I
that you could
did.
send to
A
Silas? Okay.
sample?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I think maybe
Oh, that was
somebody missed
just
it.
for you to see it. It wasn't necessarily written out specifically to them,
Okay,
to the
that's fine.
case. Yeah.
What's something you might say in an email to reach out to them?
Again, great question. This is something that I would also, just like in the phone examples, live conversations examples we have, I'd again also be very, very succinct with my message, whether it's an email or postcard. That always, email strategy is something I've also over my career spent a lot of time with. And the most effective ones are 3 or 4 sentences. That's
Yeah.
it. So it's going to be very similar to your intro, not flashy, not big logos, not a lot of colors, et cetera, et cetera. Hi, my name is, I came across your home on such and such street. I'm a local landlord who also buys in this area, and I came across your property, and I was wondering, have you had any thoughts of selling?
Yeah,
That's it.
that's great. Yeah, I would agree with
Local,
that.
you are, yeah,
A follow-up email or a marketing email that's like branded and really put together is very different from like a cold outreach email. My gut check for like emails is even if I'm just reaching out to someone, for marketing purposes or with RentRedi, like looking to go on a podcast or looking to network, the email needs to look like it came from a friend. You know, that's what I think. 3 or 4 lines, like you said, really simple subject line, not a bunch of capital letters, just something really simple. Just
yeah.
casual
I mean,
email works the best.
subject lines also so powerful. I mean, we can have a whole conversation just on the power of subject lines,
Yeah.
right? Subject line, drove down 43rd Street, saw your home. Hi, this is Eddie. Or just, I sent you a postcard, or I sent you an email. Something contextual, again, that ties it, but it's not, are you looking to sell your home? No, that's not going to work. Spam,
Yeah.
delete, goes away. So again, there's obviously a masterful way of becoming very proficient at writing those emails. But if I had to give you kind of a quick answer, be short and contextual in your subject, and be equally contextual and short, and just sign it, Eddie, and your phone number. That's it. Your first name and your phone number. No LLC, no investor corp, this, that, and the other. No, just it's from Eddie. And
Yeah.
I was curious, and I'm a local landlord.
Yeah. I
That's the
love that
vibe.
local landlord element too. We'll take a couple more questions and then we will bounce. We've been going for a little bit here. Let's see. Dan said, we're going to put you on the spot, Eddie. He said, would you consider allowing those of us on the webinar a lower subscription rate and/or a longer trial period? I'm fairly new to this, or would love some practice.
Listen, I didn't prep anything longer. Let me see what I can get to you, and maybe we can send it retroactively, Brady. Let me see what I can get
Yeah,
for you and see if we can do it. But today I can share a link with all of you for a 7-day free trial.
sure.
Now, what I would encourage you to do before you activate that 7-day free trial is there's two things. Get on propstream.com if you're interested. Get on the webinar calendar. We host daily webinars at PropStream live, just like this. And if you're an agent, I also host one on Wednesday called Lunch and Listings at 3 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Eastern. And get access to those. Join us on those. It's either me or one of my teammates hosting those daily webinars. That's a great place to ask all your questions. Once you do that, tie that in with another link I'm going to give you, which is towards Academy. Academy is PropStream's free, completely separate from the paid subscription, Academy for you to learn a lot of these strategies and things that I'm talking about today. So go live with us, stick your nose in Academy, and then once you've got kind of a better flow as to what you're going to do when you've kind of wrapped up today's conversation into that, then launch your 7-day free trial. But you have my word that I'm going to look to see if I can offer you something a little bit longer.
That's awesome. I appreciate that, man. We'll take one more question, and then I'll get a couple housekeeping things to bring up. Mark Zapola says, does PropStream have a program where someone like Eddie will find us a deal and we pay a flat fee? I feel like we got a fork in the road. We got people that are hungry that want to go get in the weeds and find the deals, and people that they want a bird dog.
I love it. No, the answer is no. Unfortunately, we don't. But I get that. Sometimes we don't want to necessarily do the work, and we just want to, cut somebody into the deal. Unfortunately, we don't have that right now, but it's a suggestion I can certainly make to the team.
Yeah.
And let me
Awesome.
drop in that 7-day free trial into the chat right now.
Yeah,
That link is
absolutely.
there, the 7-day free trial. And let me drop in one more link if you don't mind, which is the Academy, which is where all the learning happens.
Yeah, for sure.
Um,
Absolutely.
Let me drop that one in there too. And make sure you guys are clicking on these links and letting them open up in a different browser in case we close this and then you don't, I'm sure probably Brady will also probably bundle these together in a follow-up email of some sort. Or
Yep. Yeah, we'll send out an email either today or tomorrow. I know a few people had asked about will the recording be available? Yes, we'll send it out if you weren't able to watch the whole thing or if you're popping in and out. No problem. We got you through email. Yeah. Well, let me pull up my screen here. I just got a couple of quick things I wanted to bring up before we bounce. Because I know some of y'all haven't been on these webinars before. We've only been doing these for a couple months now, and some of y'all might be new to RentRedi. Number one, if you have rentals, if you're self-managing and you're looking to grow your portfolio, want advice and time back, we'd love to help you out. If you don't know what we do, RentRedi, we're an all-in-one app that lets you self-manage your rentals. It's simpler and I believe more affordable than any of your other options out there. You can collect rent, screen tenants, list units, do maintenance, accounting, everything in the app. It's simple, it's cost effective. It works whether you have one unit or you want to scale up. It can grow with you to 50, 100 units. $12 a month, unlimited properties. And then another thing, actually two things I'm really excited about that are new. We have a full accounting suite in RentRedi now. So as of this last week, RentRedi actually pairs up with your bank account to where your expenses are tracked automatically. So link up your bank account and all your expenses are there in the RentRedi app for your rentals. So you can have like your tax docs, your Schedule E, your P&L in the app. Okay. So if that's of interest to you, if you're not with RentRedi, we would love to help you out, answer any questions. Feel free to book a call with us, rentredi.com/call us. And I will put that in the chat here, rentredi.com/call us. If you have any questions, Carlos says, I'm a member of RentRedi, recommend it. Warren says, I agree. I currently use RentRedi. Awesome. We love you guys. We appreciate you. Yeah, and we have a full support team, 24/7 support for your tenants and the landlords. So, yeah. But any other questions? Let me know. Eddie, any last remarks? Anything we missed, man?
no, I mean, last remarks is get in the reps. For those who are brand new that are just trying to, get going, get in the reps, get good quality data like you can find in PropStream, identify those people, identify what your buy box is if you haven't, or refine it further so that you know what they're about, what their pain points are, and how you're the solution for their problem potentially, and why they should be engaging with you. And then just be thoughtful about how you're crafting your constant ongoing communication. Cut out the ones that you don't think have any future. And remember that number 72, whatever your number is, you're going to identify that, I just got to keep going and I'm going to reach my deals. And what you're doing in that trajectory is you're only getting sharper, you're only getting better, and that's going to mean more money in your pocket. And I think that's why we're all probably on this call.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome, man. That's a great way to end it. Uh, Last question. Paul said, rather than the filter, I think I saw this come up a couple times, so I want to answer it. Can you upload your own lists to PropStream?
Yes,
Okay,
you
cool.
can you can export these lists completely before or after you skip trace them because you want to use them in a different platform. Perfectly cool. The reverse can happen too. If you wanted to bring in your own list and bring in your list of whatever number it is and run it through a skip trace, so you can use the service that way. Absolutely. Combine it into a list, create a brand new list. A lot of good data manipulation can happen there to make it just what you need.
Awesome. Appreciate that. Adriana says she'd like to get the tool. Any promos for longer than the 7-day free trial? Not right now. We're going to see what we can do if we can do something. But you can at least do the 7 free trial. I think it's super awesome. Get in there and play in the sandbox.
And
Um,
join me on those live webinars,
yes.
because before you start to execute on that 7-day free trial and the clock starts ticking, get with us first, get with me. You'll see me again on the webinars at propstream.com. Sign up, become part of it, ask your questions.
Yeah. Sweet. One more quick housekeeping thing. We have our next webinar coming up in a couple weeks. I'll tell you who it is in just a second, but I would love to hear from y'all. What other topics you want to see? I know y'all asked some questions around creative finance, around funding today. I'm planning our webinars for the next few months, and I want to make sure that they are serving you guys in the best way possible. Hopefully, we're going to be having one around how to fund deals, one around how to screen tenants, one around time management. I would love to hear what topics y'all are most interested, because I'm the one reaching out to people like Eddie, our friends in the industry, and getting these webinars on the book. So let me know what you want to learn in the chat real quick if you're still on with us live. And I take that feedback and read every single comment. So let me know what you want to see. Our next one is going to be in 2 weeks with Tarl Yarber. You may have heard the name. He's done over 600 rehabs and burrs, but he's going to be talking about his whole burr system and how he does rehabs profitably without having to be a contractor, have construction experience. I'm really excited for that one. It's going to be good. But anyways, I'll stop yapping now. Everybody say thank you. Let us know your feedback. Say thank you to Eddie in the chat for hopping on. Eddie, thanks so much for your time, man. Thanks for hopping on with us today.
Listen, it's a real pleasure. It was great that we just bumped into each other, started chatting at the convention,
Yeah.
and this all came together. Anytime I can add value to the people you're trying to serve, I'm all here for it. So thank you very much. Thank you for all the well wishes in the chat. I really appreciate that. I'm here for all you guys. I'm here for you, Brady, and we'll see you again for sure on the next one.
All right. Thank you. Everybody have a good one, and we will see you later.